What up, everybody? It's your boy Kentario, and I'm back again for another episode of Christ and Comic Books. And what we do on this channel is we take a Christian perspective on different anime, manga, comic books, and other such media that young people like to enjoy, especially the popular animated things that are out today. Now, in this video, we will be discussing Ms. Marvel Episode 3 and Episode 4, giving my reaction to those episodes. Following this video, we will be doing Episode 5 and 6, so I hope that you guys tune in and look forward to that. With all of that being said, please make sure that you hit that subscribe button if you like what I'm producing on this channel and you want to keep up with everything. And also make sure that you hit the like button. That will boost this type of content within the YouTube algorithm. And if you have anything that you'd like to say, good or bad, express your perspective, your opinion, and if you find value with this type of content, in the comment section. Now, episode 2 of Ms. Marvel left off with Kamala being saved by Cameron, you know, the new boy at school, and there being that mysterious lady who she has been seeing in her visions. And turns out that this mysterious woman is actually Cameron's mother.
What?
And it looks as though Cameron was actually being utilized by their family to spy on Kamala and to, of course, bring her over to their side. In the midst of this encounter, of course, she discovers that there is a race of people known as Jinn, which she is in fact related to. Now, there's a lot of religious connection to this, as well as Marvel connections with this that we will be talking about just a little bit. We won't be diving too deep into it. But what else takes place in this episode with her is they start to express how we're related, and we knew who your great-grandmother was. And
Whoa.
And we were coming together to find the bangle and to try and find our way back home. Basically, they're trying to get Kamala on their side to see their perspective, to encourage her to either use the bangle or even more so give the bangle over to them so that they can quote unquote get home. But after a while, comes to find out that the truth is that the Jinn are actually looking to use her for two reasons. One, to find the great-grandmother, but not only that, to get their hands on the bangle and to use it for ulterior motives, which aren't fully expounded on in this episode, but we will get into a little bit when we talk about episode 4. But anyway, in the midst of this as well, she's getting prepared to go to her brother's wedding. But in the midst of all this, the Jinn end up attacking the actual wedding. With the Jinn attacking the wedding, she is doing her best to fight them off. And this really just gets into what I was talking about in the last episode, how they show her use her abilities, but they also show her be clumsy or like on the ropes the entire time. And what I love about that is she's not a master of her ability just like right off the hand. She's not able to just beat everybody now that she has these new abilities. She struggled, and watching her struggle, it felt as though she was going to end up dying. You end up getting to where they end up getting captured by the group called Damage Control, the ones that were trying to get their hands on Kamala in, prior. But Damage Control ends up getting their hands on the Jinn, taking the Jinn, and of course, locking them up in their controlled facility. Man, do I have theories about that, but you're gonna have to hear that for another episode. And that's basically the whole premise of the episode, her learning of the Jinn and building that relationship to find out that relationship was technically a false relationship, that they're wanting to use her, and now she has to fight them off. Now, why is this conflict so important? The reason that this conflict was so important was because Kamala, like I said the episode, what's up with my great-grandma? What's the truth? And now she finds these people that can actually lead her to the truth, and they're not trying to get her to the truth. They're really just trying to use her, manipulate her, and get their hands on the power for themselves. So the conflict there is she felt as though she had found people that would understand her, or people that she could open up to, or people that she could get close to with everything that's going on in her life. Because she can't express all of this that's happening to her parents. Her mom wants nothing to do with her grandmom, who might know anything, if at all, about the great-grandma. And so that conflict is a lot of what we find within this episode. Just a couple of things to point out as well. The episode ends with the grandmother calling Kamala and telling her to come on over to their home. I believe it's in Pakistan or in India. It's one of the two. I could be wrong, but we'll get back to that and make sure it's accurate. I'll let y'all know right here where they end up going, because they end up going by episode 4. But let's continue with episode 3. So again, with episode 3, there's that conflict within herself about who she is and wanting to know more. Am I half Jinn? What am I? Where are these powers coming from? What are these visions? All of this stuff. But she did get somewhat of a better understanding, knowing that the Jinn were with the great grandmother at the time of finding the bangle. Now, as we get into episode 4, here's some of what we encounter is, of course, the whole family's all going, right? Now, this is meaningful to Kamala because, hey, I'm going to go get to be in our homeland where we came from, at least partly, because we had a tragic past. There's a lot that's tapped into and unraveled a bit more in this episode, but they get there, she meets her grandma, you know, they're in their homeland, she's meeting her cousins who she's never seen before, and come to find out, the grandma's living large, she's living good, looking good, everything's nice over there. It's just there's a bad relationship between Kamala's mom and her grandmother. They're the ones that have the falling out, which is why there's been minimal communication between them. But in Kamala's goal here is, you know, like we said, let me find out more of the truth, where the Jinn ended up trying to, you know, manipulate and use us. Okay, so she gets here, she's hanging with her cousins, but at the same time, she finds out that she's being followed by this mysterious masked young gentleman. And they have themselves a little bout just to find out that they're actually, in some sense, on the same side. And here's why. Because where they were concerned in regards to the Jinn, this group who were trying to get their hands on Kamala, they find allyship because they reveal that the truth of what they're actually trying to do is not to get home. The Jinn are not trying to get back to their own dimension, but instead they're trying to merge dimensions, which is why they want to get their hands on the bangle. Now, in the midst of all of this, just before they even end up getting to this place, the Jinn end up breaking out of where they were locked up at. In the midst of the Jinn breaking out of where they were locked up at, they ended up betraying Cameron. Crap, I can't believe I forgot to tell you guys. One thing that I did forget to mention in regards to Cameron is that Cameron learned the truth of what the mother was actually trying to do. They were trying to get to Kamala at any cost. If she wasn't willing to play their game, they were going to either take her out, take the bangle, or capture her, however, by whatever means necessary. You know how that statement goes. But Cameron wasn't down for that. So when they ended up attacking her brother's wedding, Kamala's brother's wedding, to try and get to her, he helped them fight off the Jinn. But when the Jinn got captured, they took Cameron with them. So as we fast forward back to episode 4, what you have is when they were breaking out, Cameron got injured and abandoned by the Jinn as they broke out and escaped. And so he's still at the lockup, at their controlled lockup facility for damage control, while they broke out and they went to where Kamala is at the grandmother's place of living. And so in them breaking out and getting there, right, they end up attacking this new secret group who is looking to basically stop the Jinn from trying to merge dimensions, okay? Almost like an incursion taking place, okay? If you saw Doctor Strange 2, that's the last thing that left off with the post-credit scene, was that an incursion was happening. And Doctor Strange left to go and solve that problem like he's always dealing with other dimensional issues. But that's what's happening here, is the Jinn end up attacking this group, and so you have the young man, Kareen, and his father end up are the ones that give her the truth of what the Jinn are actually trying to do. But in this moment is when the Jinn end up attacking. Now that the Jinn have ended up attacking them, they're having to fight them off. And we're talking about like 5 people equipped with these very strong weapons, but the red daggers know how to throw them hands. Like Kareen's dad was taking on all of them by himself. He was doing amazing stuff. So we have this awesome running scene taking place throughout Pakistan as they're trying to get away from the Jinn. In the midst of them trying to get away from the Jinn, however, Kareen's dad ends up getting killed trying to protect them from getting caught by, of course, the Jinn. But in the midst of this fight, and they end up getting to this little empty market space, one of the Jinn ends up, the mother, Cameron's mother, she ends up striking the bangle, and what happens is it looks as though Kamala is zapped back to the past. And that's episode 4 in a nutshell. There's a lot more key instances. For instance, within episode 4, you have where Kamala's looking to meet with grandmother because grandmother's having the same visions that Kamala is. You have instances of Kamala's mom sitting down to actually have a conversation with her mother, and to really hit on that struggle between mother and grandmother, I guess you could say. Which again, that's what I'm telling you guys. That's what highlights that this show has some remnants of Turning Red within its series, which I personally think is really, really, really awesome. But there's just so much to come off of with both episode 3 and episode 4. Let's go back to episode 3 because I want to highlight a couple of things. One of those things being, actually between both of them, Kamala, that girl's a ladies' man. That girl's been bringing them boys in. Cause look, we start out with the series is Bruno. You know, we get to episode 2, we got Cameron showing up. Then when we get to episode 4, we have Corrine showing up. Because you see this interplay between them, like, in some sense being intimate or having some type of relationship. You kind of see that happening there. But at the end of the day, guys, I'm still a Bruno fan. I'm still rooting for my boy Bruno to win. Because when you look at episode 3, right? What happens in episode 3 is Bruno is invited to the wedding to go there. And what they did was they did this ceremonial dance that they do. Again, they're Muslim, so that's where that comes into play. But they did the ceremonial dance, or not ceremonial, but they did this performative dance. And in doing this performative dance, they incorporated Bruno in it.
Answer or challenge!
Bruno, since the beginning of the series, has always shown a respect for their faith and for their culture. And in this moment, he's performing this dance and making sure that he's doing that right. That man is solely committed to his girl. I am rooting for Bruno to win out in the end when it comes to getting with Kamala. I am rooting for the guy. Let's talk about the Jinn. Now, there's not a lot of history in regards to Jinn within Marvel, but the two reasons that the Jinn were brought in. One was from a religious standpoint, because if I have this correct, within the Quran, Jinn are mentioned. And that's one thing that Bruno, in doing research on behalf of Kamala to better understand, you know, what's their relativity or relationship in regards to her, he did some research and with the help of Kamala's dad, learned what Jinn were according to their lore. They're considered to be demons or some mysterious creatures, but they're not necessarily friendly. So we're already getting those hints. Okay, they've been lying this whole time. They're actually wanting to use Kamala. This is going to turn out bad. We're already getting those hints based off of that. But not only that, when you look at Marvel Comics, the Jinn were in fact being used in Marvel Comics, but it was before Marvel was even called Marvel Comics. Right? And so they had some starting history, but they weren't a mainstay. Even more so, they weren't even being used in regards to what we see now today in Marvel Comics. But that's where they have a way to use them within the MCU. But not only that, being that there was such a huge follow in regards to the Inhumans, that gives them some wiggle room as well when playing with how they want to mess around with Kamala's origin as Miss Marvel. Because without the Inhumans, that means she's not Inhuman, which we're going to be finding out there's something else with her, because I've sadly seen spoilers for episode 6.
What did he say?
But we'll talk about that later. Okay. But I think that's something that's very important to remember as well with the Jinn. They are not popularized or mainstay within the Marvel comic book universe, but that gives the MCU team tools to use whenever they're looking to expound or create something and add something to the Marvel universe and what's happening there. So I think that's meaningful. That means something as well. But man, when I tell you, they really be killing it with putting Kamala in these situations where she's got to use her abilities. She's got to be prepared to defend herself, protect herself, because she could easily lose her life. They even this is something else that they did. Again, she was on the ropes when the Jinn were attacking them at the wedding. Bruno even got badly injured, and they had to get him out of there. But when she was getting swarmed and stuff, she was doing her best to at least block. She wasn't doing much damage, but she was blocking. And they had this kitchen scene where she was hiding, and they did something to make her kind of like show up and to show herself. And so she showed herself, and they were able to get to her. That shows her lack of maturity as far as combat goes and tactical movement in fighting, which again is highlighting her immaturity trying to be a hero, but she doesn't give up on trying to be a hero, which honestly is something I respect. Because although there's a lot of people that love heroism, there's a lot of people that they wish they could be heroes and have powers. You can't hope that you can just step up to the plate and do what heroes do. You most likely either get yourself killed or learn that you're really just scared and a coward and run away instead of doing anything at all. And so that's what I really liked about the way that this episode played out. But even more so, this leading into her family. I told you guys since day one, I thought it was just about the culture. And then episode 2, oh snap, we're getting into the religion. Now we're kind of getting into both, as well as getting to the homeland of Pakistan, where there's a lot of history involved there that we get into within episode 4. Because again, remember, the mother seeing the visions too. The grandmother, sorry. But with the grandmother seeing the visions, the grandmother also knows a bit of the history, being that she was there. Just to kind of give what I understand based off of what the episode gives, there seems to have been some type of revolt taking place, or revolutionary attack happening within India. And with this attack taking place in India, everyone was doing everything that they could to get on board this train to escape to Pakistan, which is why there's so many Indians in Pakistan at this time for the show, and probably even now in reality. I'll be honest, I'm not the overseas expert, but I can tell you that that's what they're talking about in this episode, doggone it. And so they had to escape there, but there are ties between what was taking place in that night and actually finding the bangle and the Jinn being here. There's all of these things are intertwined together, which with this being a limited series, it's a lot to pack into just a 6-episode show. So that's one of the hard parts about Miss Marvel, is they're throwing so many different things at you. I like that Kamala has all these boys liking her. That's 3 guys. One, y'all got to come up with how she's gonna make a decision in the next 2 episodes. But 2, you got to make that make sense. You can't just kind of just rush that into our face or throw that into our face. And I think that's something that I personally struggle with the show, is that they're rushing through so much, introducing culture, religion, all of these different aspects. But we know that you're not going to sit down and do another season or continue this show for long term to where we can actually dig into that type of stuff. So that's part of kind of what makes it a little hard. But anyway, that's a lot of the stuff that we're getting within episode 3 and through to episode 4. Now, let's kind of look at the Red Daggers. The Red Daggers, I honestly am not very knowledgeable about, but I'm definitely going to be doing that research so that I can bring a full perspective, from a Christian perspective, at the end of it, to expound more on who the Red Daggers are and whether or not they have any comic book actual application, and if there's any purpose to that at all. But I'm telling you, man, I was shocked. I did not expect that Kareem's dad was going to die that fast. I didn't see that coming. That dude looked like a boss. The way that he was fighting, I was like, oh, he gonna live a long time. No, my boy's about to die. The one person that they're trying to get to is about to be captured. Sacrifice himself. Oh, come on. I didn't need to see that happen so fast, man. But this is also, what's meaningful about that is that gives Kamala a taste of reality. And then them being able to give Kamala a taste of reality of what it means to be a hero. You're going to be faced with some stuff and make some decisions that you won't be able to run away from just because you don't feel like being a hero or wearing the mask or fighting anymore. People will die in the process of that, and you have to be prepared to deal with that before and after. So she's getting all of these lessons about heroism. That's what I really, really, really love about this show. Imagination versus the reality of it. Perfect picture being painted. But guys, that's all that I have for you all in regards to episode 3 and episode 4 of Miss Marvel. I hope that you all will tune in once again, as we will be doing a review of episode 5 and episode 6 of Miss Marvel, where it seems there's a lot of good stuff coming out of that, and I look forward to being able to talk about it with you guys. Thank you all so very much, and I hope you have a blessed one. Peace.